Hello, this is Angela Hooper-Menifield of Menifield Associates, and this is your HR moment for Wednesday, October 9th, 2019. So the last couple of days, we've had some extensive discussion about doctor's notes. We've talked a little bit about Monday, how to file those things and where to place them. So if you didn't see that video, we'd love for you to either catch it on my Facebook page, LinkedIn, or you can go to my YouTube channel at Menifield Associates. The other thing we've talked about is, what does a medical note require? And we talked about the difference between prognosis and diagnosis, right? And what are the expectations and what do we have to tell our supervisor? So today, the question that got posed to me was along the lines with navigating that terrain, because sometimes at work, we're friends with the people we work with. And the reason why this matters is because oftentimes it's because of the friendship or the relationship, the connection that we've built with these people over the years that we have privileged information about them. And so how do we balance, this friendship and supervision, right? And so this is a really good question. So as we align this, and this is a broad topic that we can really cover in various ways, but today's aspect of it is only talking about how you might have benefit or knowledge of something as a friend on the medical scope. And then how do you balance that in the professional side, right? Now this could even be if it's a peer. Because what often happens is, let's say you and I ride to work together every day, and then today I get up sick and I tell you, whatever that thing is that has me under the weather. And as a result of that, when you get to work, people say, hey, where's Angela? Technically, you shouldn't be answering that question in its totality beyond stating, I'm sick. So not what I'm sick with, what I'm sick about, or what else is happening with me. Now let's also say it's a supervisory relationship and I have knowledge about this sickness, yet maybe my supervisor says, hey, what's the story there? What's going on with person X or Y? Technically, I shouldn't be divulging that. Medical information is still private, and there's a way to balance that so we can care about people, demonstrate our concern, be there for them, but we don't need to know the medical ins and outs. I'll also say we need to be careful about what kind of questions we ask. And so if there is that fine line, perhaps we say, well, as your supervisor, let me be very clear. You're not required, nor is there an expectation that you tell me what it is that's going on. An employee may still choose to do so, but there should be no expectation, no mandate of such or requirement that you understand or get into the ins and outs of what's happening with them medically. I found myself saying on a regular basis, with my team, rest assured, you don't have to tell me what's going on. Like maybe somebody's having a surgery. It's really not my business what type of surgery they're having. Now, if they choose to tell me, that's another thing. And then how do we deal with that? Many of us work in environments where we're very family-oriented, loving, kind, supportive of one another. So we want to do things like visit people in the hospital if we know what hospital they're in, send cards and things like that. Or perhaps someone has a death in the family. Maybe we want to send sympathy cards, plants, and flowers. Again, as the supervisor, who is often the person that still is in contact with that employee, we may be privileged to some information that they've shared with us because they're giving us updates. It would behoove us to get clarity on how much of that information should be and can be shared, or if any. Because sometimes, while again they know we have good intentions, they have a right to not share anything. Again, it's their privacy, their information. So again, if I'm their friend, I may have privilege to this information on the friendship side, but it does not mean that I come to work and tell everybody. It does not mean I discuss it in the break room. It does not mean I even have to tell my supervisor, because again, there has been a line there. So there's a great deal of content around managing and or supervising friends. And we get into that quite extensively, how to deal with, performance issues, how to deal with conduct issues. And again, conversation for another day because we try to keep these videos short. Today's topic of expertise is really like, how do I deal with that PII, that personal identifiable information, medical information, things I may know as a friend because they told me, but I don't have a right to share that information either with my supervisor or others in the workplace, whether I'm the supervisor or not. Hey, Kamika, so good to see you, sis. So again, as supervisors, it is imperative that while we're friends with our team members often, because again, these are the people we spend the most waking hours with in our lives, it's important that we don't violate the friendship trust, and also understanding that as a professional, there are some privacy requirements that we have to adhere to when it talks about what we share. So as such, because again, there could be a collective of friends. So maybe what we share in the friendship realm, we're making it clear, as in, Kamika is a friend of mine. I know she's on this video right now. So if I have some information about a third friend and we're as friends talking, maybe we want to send flowers, we want to send a card or whatnot, that's Angela the friend versus what I do at work. So if I'm at work, it's not really permissible without, again, permission, that I share this private information that I may have about my friend, even though it's done with good faith, great intentions. Now, I've only seen it a few times where there's been some issues where people have been called on the carpet and complaints have been filed, but they have happened. I'm just being really transparent. So while I'm not trying to create an environment where we operate in paranoia and so afraid, it's just about being clear on what expectations are. So just ask. Who would you like for me to share this with, if anyone, and if so, how much, right? That was my standard response. If someone texts me something, I was like, is this public information? Would you like for me to share it with the rest of the team? Yada, yada, yada. Because we don't want the burden to be on them to share that with, 20 other people. They told one person. The other reason why I asked that question is because sometimes I'm operating under the PII mode and I don't share it with anybody. Well, guess what happens then? Nobody goes to see them. Nobody, comes to the visitation if it's a death in a family member or something like that. And now their feelings are hurt because the expectation was we would be there for them. And again, maybe the supervisor didn't share that information because they didn't know that they could. So some of it is on us as the employee to make sure that our supervisors and organizations know what we want and don't want shared. But then again, as a supervisor and one who understands that there are different types of people, some want more privacy than others. Some are just like an open book. They'll tell any and everybody. I just ask the question, what would you like for me to share and with whom? And when I ask that question, I get the answer and I proceed accordingly. Again, I came from an excellent work environment where we loved, supported each other, traveled out of town for, one another. And so it was very common for us to, send flowers, be there in person, show up, have showers, parties, and things like that on our own time with our own monies, to support one another. But again, we can't assume that everybody wants it, nor should we assume no one wants it. So there has to be a balance. We have to figure that out. But again, as a supervisor, we cannot divulge the trust of our friends by sharing that information with other peers, coworkers, or even our supervisors. So that was today's HR Moments about, again, taking that medical now. And again, Monday was, where do we file it? Tuesday talked a little bit about what is required on it. And today we kind of brought it home to more of the crossing that line or understanding where the lines of demarcation are between friendship and supervision when we have access to this information. So thank you to the person who asked me this question today in our conversation in a consult. I thought it was a great question, and as such, I'm sharing it with you today. Have a great Wednesday. I hope everybody is doing well, and I look forward to talking to you again tomorrow. Take care and bye-bye.